There seems to be some deja vu going on in the Trump administration, as the legendary baseball wise man guru Yogi Berra said, it's deja vu all over again. What am I talking about? Take a look at these two headlines. Put them up for you. The first one was in 2020. There's going to be an investigation about the Russia investigation, investigating the investigators. And one today. There's going to be an investigation about the Russia investigation. Once again, investigating the investigations. What's going on? Well, let's break it down. But before we do that, remind you to subscribe. And in case you're wondering why I'm all dressed up, it is for you folks, of course, but I also just got off the set from cable news network TV. So let's talk about this. Why is there deja vu again? What is the alleged basis for rekindling this entire investigation? Remember, there had been somebody named John Durham who had already gone through this entire investigation one time. And John Durham has done this investigation once before. We'll talk a little bit more about exactly what he was doing. But Tulsi Gabbard, the intelligence chief who has no real intelligence background, she has made a referral to the Justice Department, which has acted on a referral to open up this investigation. Why? Because there has been some new material previously gathered years ago by John Durham, the former special counsel, and had been classified. So released a little bit of it. And the main hay that Gabbard and Attorney General Bondi want to make of this is the idea that within there is some talk of whether or not the Hillary Clinton campaign, think how far back we're going here, they had tried to work the media, maybe put out some information about the Trump campaign's ties with Russia. Now, the idea here is that Gabbard wants to say that, oh, in this new material, there is proof from emails that the Clinton campaign or people affiliated with it were trying to push this fake news story out to interfere with the election. Okay, sounds maybe interesting, even though it's hard to imagine why it didn't come up until now. Well, here's why it didn't come up until now. It actually did come up. And if you actually look at John Durham's report, as well as what was in that information, it completely undercuts what Tulsi Gabbard is saying and completely undercuts the reasons for AG Bondi opening this investigation yet again. So she wants to stake her theory on a new release from Durham's work, like I just said, and getting into details some, one of the emails is purportedly from a guy named Bernardo, who has a plan to, quote, demonize Putin and Trump, and adds, quote, later the FBI will put more oil on the fire. That message and others, including one from a Clinton foreign policy aide, Julianne Smith, became part of the so-called Clinton plan intelligence. Now, the problem is that Bernardo and Smith dispute ever writing such emails. And in the heavily redacted report, what they call the annex to Durham's report that was just released on Thursday, Durham basically upholds this disavowal, concluding that this supposed email is not like an actual email the way we think of it. It's printed. It had been cobbled together from other individuals' emails, all of which was part of this hack that happened, which has been traced back to the Russians. So it basically sounds like somebody, not the actual people who supposedly wrote this email, cobbled it together to make it sound like there's a problem. So if you, as is so often the case, I mean, when you look at what actually was released, in fact, when you look at John Durham's own conclusions about it, it really undermines the entire basis for opening up the investigation again. Now, the spin you'll hear from the MAGA camp, including Fox News, so this is the smoking guns finally been revealed. What they don't want to talk about is how the actual content undercuts the smoking gun idea. Now, let's remember too what the John Durham investigation entailed, which is big fat nothing. He spent about $6.2 million from 2019 to 2023, basically investigating the Mueller investigation to see if there is something amiss with it, if it was a hoax the way that Trump liked to say it was. He was trying to prove that it was a hoax investigation. What did he do during that time? Well, he spent an awful lot of time with then Attorney General Bill Barr, and if you take a look at some reporting here, rather unusual, right? The whole idea of having a special counsel is for them to be independent, do their own thing, rather than the Attorney General interfering with it. But that was not exactly the case with Bill Barr and his best bro, John Durham. They frequently visited together, eating steak, having fine wine together, and even flew around the world, some going to Italy together, part of their investigation. So it was hardly a independent investigation. And despite that, Durham wasn't able to find anything, and he was kept on afterwards to finish this sort of like in Chinese they like to call it the iron rice bowl. He just kept living off the tax dollar for all those years and found absolutely nothing. As I said earlier tonight on CNN, the only real legal issue here going on is the Fifth Amendment, believe it or not. We'll put up the link for you if you want to watch the whole thing, but the little excerpt that I pointed out was, I think the real question is going to be whether anyone takes the Fifth. I mean, that's the real interesting legal question to me, and I really think they should all take the Fifth. Take the Fifth.
Why?
Because there's always the danger, especially with this DOJ, that you could be caught in the perjury trap. Something that's supposedly inconsistent. Now you face new charges, 1001 misrepresentations. But if they just take the Fifth, sure, tons of speculation. People say you must be guilty, you're taking the Fifth. They're going to speculate that anyway. There's no amount of testimony you're going to give that's going to put an end to that. So just do the smart.
Spoken like a criminal defense lawyer.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
When they start subpoenaing people, whether it is President Obama, President Biden, former national security advisors, they're going to have lawyers, of course. And the question is, are they going to take the Fifth? Because any good lawyer would tell them, take the Fifth. We've been down this road with the Biden aides who did take the Fifth. And in my opinion, they should absolutely take the Fifth. Why? Well, for one thing, it's going to cost you less to have your expensive lawyer just have you take the Fifth once. But number two, they are not going to gain anything by actually giving further testimony on this. It'll just add more life to it. It's not going to put an end to anything. So it's better to just shut it down. And it's a perjury trap, right? With this DOJ, you cannot trust them in terms of being a prosecution place from a place of integrity. They're not going to move from a place of integrity. They will look for any discrepancy, any claim that sounds like, oh, I don't remember this. How could you possibly not remember it? Because even though we often think that as long as the witness says can't remember it, they're free and clear, that's not always true, because people can challenge whether you remember it or not. And remember, it's the discretion of the prosecutor that counts here. And these prosecutors, this DOJ, will use their discretion only to harass people that Trump wants them to harass. Therefore, they should take the Fifth. Don't play the game. It's going to play out there in the court of public opinion, speculation. Great. That's going to happen no matter what you do. The key is stay out of legal jeopardy. So that's what I'm going to be watching for, because this will go forward. They're going to continue to try and do this investigation. And obviously, it's a great distraction from other things that Trump doesn't want us to be looking at, like a certain list and a certain person's files. That's it for now. We'll keep an eye on this for you. And thanks again for watching. And we'll talk to you soon.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.